Yeah, good morning and welcome back. My name still remains Adenike Sonda. It's nice to be here on a Wednesday morning again on AM Chat and on our political segment. And we have an interesting topic. Most of the guys have been bringing here, when they talk about the politicians, they talk about the government, they mention the word impunity. And from research, some of our people don't even know what impunity is all about and how it's affecting good governance in our country. The name of our guest, we have a guest here who is a human rights activist, and his name is Mr. Edetaen Ojo. He is a human rights activist and also a media rights agenda person. I don't know if some of you know, you should know it because he's also part of the FOI bill, and he's here to put more light on that word impunity that Jumoke mentioned.
Yes, when you say impunity, it sounds like it's a big word. Yes, yes.
Some of our people don't know the meaning of that word. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome to MITV AM Chat on our political segment.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I think the first word here, I don't know, Jimmy, should be...
Yeah, let's get to the root of this word impunity, because we hear it being used over and over again. Yeah. So,
well, impunity is a basic disregard for the law, for established rules and procedures. And it's part of our political problems in this country, where a lot of people basically just put aside the law, put aside rules and regulations, and do whatever they like. And we think it's a major cause of our backwardness, because where you have such an environment where there's a frequent disregard for rules, for laws, then you have a state of anarchy, and there's very little hope for development and progress.
Now it's clear. Okay. Well, you said it's what is setting us, let me put it that way, setting Nigerians back.
Yes.
Yeah, political wise, how has it really affected Nigeria in the political terrain?
Well, impunity is very widespread in Nigeria. It's very pervasive, and I can give you lots and lots of examples of it. But just to illustrate the problem, I'll give you a few examples from way back in our political history to more recent times. You would remember that many years ago we had a situation where a sitting governor, Governor Chris Ngige of Anambra State, was kidnapped. Whilst he was still in office, was kidnapped under the auspices of a private businessman, and nothing happened. There was no consequence at all. I mean, that's one of the most brazen examples of impunity that we've had in this country. If you say it in a lot of other countries, people would think that it's fiction. It's not possible that a sitting governor would be kidnapped by an ordinary businessman. The person would not even be arrested or charged with anything, and things would go on as normal. That's a very stark example of the kind of impunity we've experienced in this country. Even the situation that is happening with the Nigerian Governors Forum right now is also a clear example of impunity, where a small body of 36 people had elections, somebody clearly won, and there's just a clear refusal to accept the outcome of that process. And that often is translated into the wider society, where we have bigger elections. You have a number of states in this country where governors are running the states without an annual budget. The Constitution requires that every state, the federal government, local governments have annual budgets. But in a lot of states around this country, people are just spending public money without a budget, which ordinarily under the Constitution is an impeachable offense, but nothing happens because of the state of impunity that we have in the country. So there's so many examples of such disregard for the Constitution, disregard for the law, disregard for rules and procedures. At the federal level, we have a Public Procurement Act, which sets out the process for doing any public procurement of goods, works, and services. And people are, either disregarding it or undermining it without consequence. We have the Freedom of Information Act, which you referred to earlier, which took a lot of years to get passed. Now that it's been passed, a lot of public institutions are not complying, and there are no consequences for them. If you read the report of the Attorney General of the Federation, who is the person who is supposed to have oversight over the implementation of the law, out of hundreds of public institutions in this country, only 32 submitted their annual reports for last year, and there's no consequence. So persistently, we have these cases where public officers, politicians, and so on and so forth, just disregard their responsibilities under the law. They disregard their duties and nothing happens to them.
All right, don't you think that this saying that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man, it's looking like it's a wasted statement when it comes to this issue of impunity, if people are clearly and glaringly disregarding the law, and like you said, no consequences to their actions? Don't you think the judiciary is really not playing their role in this issue of impunity?
I wouldn't say so. Cases have to be taken to the judiciary. The judiciary cannot go on the street and start picking cases and dealing with them. Cases have to be taken to the judiciary. At the federal level, that's primarily the responsibility of the Attorney General of the Federation. Although you also have a number of regulatory agencies and bodies. You have the EFCC, you have the ICPC, you have NAFDAC, you have the Bureau of Public Procurement. All of these are regulatory agencies whose primary responsibility it is to monitor the implementation of various laws and rules and regulations. Now, it is also their duty when people violate the law to take those people before the judiciary. If they don't do that, the judiciary cannot take on the cases. So that's part of the problem, that a lot of institutions are not living up to their responsibility of superintending over various sectors of the society that are under their regulation. So that is problematic for us. So we need to find a way to get those oversight bodies and regulatory agencies to begin to play their role, to take those people to court, take cases to court, and ensure that they're effectively prosecuted.
Okay. Now, well, she has mentioned, I wanted to mention, you've mentioned the judiciary, but now the thing is, where is this problem of impunity coming from? Although she has said judiciary and you've mentioned regulatory bodies, but I'm also looking at, okay, if we're looking at good governance, and we're looking at all the politicians, and we're looking at the nation as a whole, where is that problem really coming from? Because like you said, that if you don't take cases to the judiciary, they will not be able to hear. So where is that the problem of the impunity? Where is it? Where did it? I don't know how to do it.
Well,
has it always been there, or it suddenly began to rear its head or something?
It's been there at a very low level, but over time, with nothing being done, then people begin to take on this attitude that I can get away with anything. And increasingly, we get more and more people. Let's not pretend that it's a problem only in the political sector, or only with politicians. Yes. As I said earlier, it is very pervasive. It is widespread. It cuts across all of the society, including you and me. Many of us drive our cars without papers, without our registration, without vehicle license, driver's license, insurance, and all of that, which we are supposed to do or have under the law. It's impunity. We just believe that we can do it and get away with it. If a policeman stops us, we give him some money and we drive off. It's impunity. Many of us don't pay our taxes. It's impunity because it's a crime not to pay your tax. So it's not a problem that you can locate within one sector. The problem now is that it's become so pervasive that the country cannot move forward under this situation. We had sometime last year a report of this bribery scandal over the probe into the fuel subsidy scam. Now, we had a report that clearly indicted some people. Then the team that led the investigation at the House of Representatives also turned out to have been indicted with very strong evidence of bribe taking. But what has happened since then? Those people remain in office. And they continue to carry on as if nothing is wrong. When you see that, then there is no incentive for you to do the right thing, because you also believe that you can do that and get away with it. So across the entire country, we begin to see this problem, and it's really kept the country down. No matter what we do, no matter the policies that are put in place, the laws that are put in place, the country is just not moving forward. If you look at Chapter 12 of the Constitution, which is called the Fundamental Objectives and Directive Principles of State Policy, it sets out the political, economic, and social objectives of this country that should guide governance. Nobody takes it into account. It's completely disregarded. And ordinary people like you and me, who suffer the most as a result, we just keep quiet. We say nothing, we do nothing. So the people that are in office don't feel any pressure to do the right thing. So it's a problem of the entire society, and if we're going to solve it, all of us have to put our shoulders behind this problem.
Well, don't you think it's because from the top they are not, like you said, doing anything about it, and that's why it's affecting,
slowing down?
Yes, because they're not doing anything about it at the top. It's getting to cover the entire country. But the people at the top really have no incentive to do anything about it. They benefit from the state of impunity. Those of us who are deprived of a lot of things as a result should be the ones putting pressure on them to do the right thing, to live up to their responsibilities, to perform their public functions. Because at the end of the day, all of the social and economic benefits that we lose, they don't lose. Everything is taken care of for them. So unless we who are feeling the pain come out and say, no, this is no longer acceptable, nothing will change. I think we came close to that situation in January 2012 when people came out over the fuel subsidy thing and said no. And you saw the response. Now, if we're able to sustain that kind of approach of saying, look, we're citizens of this country with a legitimate interest in how the country is governed, and we are stakeholders in the Nigerian project. So our views and our positions must be taken into account. If we're able to consistently maintain that approach and attitude, I think government will become more responsive. But when we ourselves project an attitude of we don't care, then there is no incentive for government to respond to us, because they always feel that we can do it and get away with it, and only a few people here and there will make noise. They will get tired, and then we move on to something else.
Okay, now what I don't know. Yeah, should I say?
Yeah, he has already talked about. Yeah, he has already talked about the way forward, the solution to all this.
How do we? Because now you're saying that it's the society.
We have to sensitize our people. They have to be able to make the link between the deprivation they suffer and the fact that some people are not doing what they ought to do. And they need to organize and mobilize themselves to insist that certain things be done. It doesn't have to be at the federal level alone. You can look at your local government, your immediate environment, your immediate community. There are a lot of residents associations and all of that around. Some people don't even participate in those arrangements, whereas it's for the benefit of all of us. So there are different levels at which you can look at situations of impunity and say, no, if we allow this to continue, we all suffer, or at least some of us suffer. So we have to do that sensitization to enable people to understand the impact and the consequences of this situation on their own lives, on their own lack of progress in life. A lot of us now, if you have children that are going to school, university, you just tell yourself, if you can afford it, it's better to put my child in a private university. Because if you enter a public university, you are not sure when the person will graduate. ASU is on strike right now. And even if this is resolved, 6 months down the road, maybe non-academic staff will be on strike. So everything is falling apart because things are not being done properly. So we all have an interest in insisting that things be done properly and in saying no to impunity.
Well, saying no to impunity. Well, we've been talking to Mr. Edetaen Ojo, and the topic here has been impunity, because most of our political girls, when they come, they talk about
always impunity.
Yeah, so now I'm sure you are enlightened and educated. I am.
Yeah, I am too.
Yes. So we've been talking to him, and he has said it is the society now, not even at the top. We need to put pressure. But lastly, why do you think we're not putting pressure on.
I think the right word to use for Nigerians and stance on these issues is lackadaisical.
Yes.
We are just putting on this I don't care attitude.
But why are we putting up that attitude?
It's a vicious circle that we're in. Many of us are just faced with trying to survive on a daily basis. So we think that problem out there is too big for me. Let me just face where my next meal will come from. But we forget that we're in that situation because of the bigger problem there. And if we don't solve that bigger problem there, all the days of our life we'll be looking for the next meal. So we've got to put aside this immediate now, what do I eat concern, and say how can we create an environment that enables us to develop to the maximum possible.
Okay.
Unfortunately, people just worry about now and here. What do I eat? How do I pay my children's school fees? I'm sick. How do I pay hospital bills? We can't make the link between those people who are just squandering money. Nothing is happening to them. Nobody's talking to them. And the fact that we go to a hospital, there are no drugs, there are no doctors. We go to school, there are no seats, no teachers. We can't make that connection. So we've got to be able to make it and say, look, we need to struggle for our future rather than just focusing on now. And in any event, all of the efforts we are making for now, they don't really lift us up. They just enable us to survive from day to day. So it's that kind of enlightenment that we need to do for our wider society.
Well, thank you very much. I hope when we call you again, you'll be able to come to still talk, because you said it's broad, and I'm sure we'll still bring you on again. Well, you're still on AM Chats on our political segments, and we're going on a break. Jimmy is going to be back. Well, I'll see you next week again. Thank you, Mr. Ojo, for coming. See you next week on